Hi, everyone. I am here with Alan Stevens, and I'm really thrilled to be able to do this interview with him. He's an international profile and communication specialist who's regularly featured on national TV, on radio, and the world press. He profiles politicians, TV and sports stars, and royalty. He is an Amazon best-selling author, a coach, and a trainer, and he's been referred to as the leading authority on reading people globally by the UK Guardian, and the Herald called him the mentalist meets Dr. Phil. Now that's quite a profile you've got there. So Alan teaches people to understand themselves and to read other people so that they can create better and longer relationships in all of the areas of their life. So he works with people in business, with their children, personal relationships. I mean, you name it, Alan works with all of those. And he works with really high profile clients like Disney, Gillette, and the Australian Federal Police. And he works also with business owners and executives so that they can understand their clients and their prospects better and enhance their presentation and negotiation skills. And your latest project is you work with a school. So right. You pretty much cover everything. How did you get to do that? What's your background? Tell us a bit more.
Well, first of all, thanks very much for the invitation to the show to speak to you. We work in similar fields, so it's really great to have somebody who understands what I do to actually have a chat with them. But how I got involved in what I'm doing was I was never really good at reading people. I've been through 2 divorces, a lot of relationships. When I first came to Newcastle, I was 23 years old, put in charge of a group of people who were all older than me. My second in charge was 38. And so getting them on side and knowing that the regional management saw me as really a boy, more so than anything else. So then in my mid-30s, I joined the surf club, and there was very quickly, I did my bronze, but very quickly they taught me into being the club captain and then zone supervisor of 3 beaches. Now at that point I thought, great, same age as most of the others on the committee. But as they pointed out, Alan, you've only been here 5 minutes. We've been here since we were nippers, when they were very young. And then in my late 30s, my first wife left and I had 3 boys to raise on my own. So now totally out of my depth. So with that, that was what caused me to realise I needed to understand people more effectively. And I've worked in a lot of areas and I've done a lot of training in things like psychometric profiling, reading people there, but realised that when you ask people questions, they try and second guess how they should answer it. So you get misinformation from them. At the same time, I knew that when if I just looked at them and tried to work it out myself with my own emotions getting in the way, I would read them wrong as well. And so I've just realised I just had to keep adding more and more skills. And that's virtually what I've been as a school of life, a student of events. And that's how I've come to where I am today.
Okay. And you've worked with a lot of amazing teachers from what I understand, and you've made that all your own. You've just shaped it in such a way that you are really unique in the world.
That's it. See, I've been a massage therapist, aromatherapist. I had colour therapy, sound therapies. And I introduced both colour and sound therapies to the Singapore hospital, to where they had the young children that they'd analyse and then diagnose with, say, ADHD, Asperger's. And then they had teachers who would teach them English and other subjects who weren't really connecting with them. And we used colour and sound to be able to better connect with them. I've never had the belief that any one modality, one special technique is going to fix all things. I've been a student of life and I just keep putting more and more things together. So I'll find the best coaches, the best specialists in all the areas. I'll train with them. Then I'll take what they've taught away, put it together and see how I can mould it with the other things that I'm doing so I can produce something even greater again. And that's what I've been doing.
I can see why we get along so well, because everything you said just now resonates with me. I go, yes, absolutely.
Because in our conversations about your past as well, the things that you've done, the travel, the people you've connected with, what we bring to the table, this is what a lot of people don't realise. A lot of people go out and become life coaches, business coaches, even into counselling work, who have never really experienced life. You and I have been through all of that. There wouldn't be anything that between the 2 of us, or even in our own rights, that we could not talk about that we have not experienced ourselves firsthand, or lived it ourselves, or people very close to us have been through it. So we come from a place of knowing what we're talking about.
I used to joke where I would say, please, this is one thing I really don't need to go to in order to be able to talk about it. And then it was like, okay, so I have to go through this in order to be able to have the empathy with my clients to do that. And sometimes I feel like I'm just a step ahead of them. But it's always good to have gone through the experience. And so I've taken, I don't know about you, but I've taken the label positive, negative off. It's all learning.
It is. And you have to take it that way, because when you're looking for blame all the time, like who's right, who's wrong, you never find a solution. Understanding what caused something in the first place allows us then to be able to go, right, if we understand what fully caused it, we can then go and fix it. While we're looking at who's right and wrong, all we're doing is creating two fractions and separating and putting a bigger chasm between them. So experience it and taking that blame away and just getting in and finding the cause and working on the cause, we eradicate the problem, and we don't have to worry about blaming anybody in the process. Nobody takes offense. Nobody goes and tries to resist you on trying to make a change.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Now, I'm really curious. How does face reading work with all of that? How can our skill of actually working with people, how can that support us in making better decisions?
Well, on one aspect, I know that, well, you mentioned the Mentalist and that side of things. There were shows on TV that taught people how to look at expressions, read those little twitches on the face. We have, we pull expressions on our face every day. We've got about 43 muscles in the face. Exactly. And we then can pull over 3,000 expressions that I know that Paul Ekman, who did all the research on the micro expressions, he and his team in their facial action coding book, FACS, F-A-C-S, they came up with 3,000 expressions they could give names to, and they actually mapped all the muscles that are involved in that. But when I'm reading faces, I'm coming down to about 7 expressions, which are what we call micro expressions. The little twitches that we all know that we respond to everything unconsciously, emotionally. Something happens around us, something's said, and all of a sudden we respond immediately. In that moment, before the conscious mind steps in, that can be as fast as 1/5 of a second down to 1/25 of a second. And in that, it gives away what our emotion is in that moment. And there's 7 expressions that we need to look at and know more. We've got anger, contempt, disgust, happiness, sadness, fear and surprise. And it doesn't matter where you come from. If you were born in a capital city, a tribal village, even if you've been blind from birth, if you feel that emotion, your face is going to give it away. So that's one thing. That tells me how somebody's emotion. But first of all, I need to know how to actually speak to them. Your facial features give that away. Straight away, I can look at somebody and know how they like to take information in. I know how much space they need when they first meet somebody for the first time. Whether they've got a dry sense of humor, things like that. That's all in the face. And people go, well...
difficult. I'm German, so I'm supposedly I don't have a sense of humor. So can you tell that as well?
Well, actually, your face does have a dry sense of humor. And by that, I mean that you'll joke, as you're doing now, you'll actually joke about yourself as well. You'll handle some tricky situations by joking about it, whereas the opposite trait will actually pull back. They're a bit more fussier. They will take offence to some of the things that, well, I've got the same trait, that what we talk about, they will take offence to it. Now, and by the way, I'll very quickly, before I explain how the facial features give away your personality, just to point out that there is no right or wrong trait. Every trait we have has an upside, and every trait that we have has a downside as well. So whatever traits we've got, they are perfect for us. And if you understand your traits, you know how to set your environment up so you have a happier life.
Yes.
But when you look at it, if you look at anybody who's been lifting weights, working out, they build their muscles up. And we know that our emotions and our physiology, neurology, physiology are linked together. So whatever we're feeling in our emotions, we're going to give away in our face. That's how the micro expressions work. And if we pull this same expression over and over, we're going to develop ridges and crevices, like these lines that you have down from your cheeks. One, it tells me that you're adventurous, and from your story of what you've done in the past, you had to be adventurous to do that. The lines down here also tell me you have good verbal expression. That's from speaking a lot and articulating as you speak. So as you use those muscles, you're going to build those ridges and crevices.
Right.
And that's what I'm reading.
Yeah. So that takes me right to my next question. Is it's like, so can you tell somebody's facial, like their outlook on life from their you know, from their face. Because I mean, if we make the same facial, if we make the same movements all over again every day, and as you said, we create these crevices. Can you tell somebody's personality from that? So because we say, oh, this is a really angry person, or you know, can you actually see just by taking one look at a person what they're like?
You can see how they're, because we have traits that were passed down from our parents, those in the skeletal section, shape like the spacing of the eyes and that sort of thing. But the muscles themselves, the corner of the mouth, for instance, turning up or turning down. If you smile a lot, the muscles above your mouth will actually get shorter and stronger. So at rest, they stretch the bottom ones so the mouth is turned up. If you frown a lot, the mouth is going to turn down. At the same time, we have those little crow's feet, as they call them, the little laughter lines out the side of the face. And that's what they are. Yeah. If you don't smile a lot, you won't have those lines. If you haven't got true enjoyment in your life, there'll be no lines there. So if you see somebody, no lines, corner of the mouth is turned down, then you know that that's somebody who's never really been happy much at all.
So do you meet more people with the corners of their mouth turned up or with the corners down?
Well, it depends. Oh, I usually see people turn their mouths up when we start talking and joking and things like that. But those when they're just walking past in the street, as we get older, we naturally have a slight turn down. Because we've been through all those things. We've raised children, we've been through all the pressures, we've been through different career changes, we've been through all that study and things that we've done. And while you're concentrating and thinking on things, you're not smiling. You're usually, you know, really getting involved in what you're doing. So the muscles there will get stronger.
And negative emotions are so much more impactful on us, right?
That's exactly right.
Longer because they focus on what's really important.
Exactly.
But these days, we don't want to do that anymore. So this is what I'm also really curious about. How does Botox actually affect us?
Well, Botox, any change, like cosmetic surgery, for instance, is not going to change your personality. It will change the appearance. But say somebody had Botox to get rid of the laughter lines here, but their mouth is turned up, then it's not likely that their mouth is turned up because they've been enjoying life in the short term and been unhappy all their life. It's a case of, well, okay, you look at them and you go, their behavior, the way they carry themselves, their body language, the way they're talking. Okay, there's no lines here. Then they may have had some cosmetic surgery. If you're talking to them, their eyebrows, for instance, there's no crevices appearing and disappearing. Then with Botox, that actually stops the skin from moving because it fills it up.
Yeah.
So you'll watch the behavior and you'll pick it up then.
Yes. I heard the other day that having Botox actually stops people from having empathy because we don't mirror these emotions in other people anymore. So when we don't move the muscles, when we don't have those micro muscle movements, we can't tell how somebody's feeling anymore because we can't match that.
That's it. So because the neurology and the physiology are linked, it's like if you're unhappy, if you want to change that, force a smile onto your face.
Yes.
And all of a sudden you'll find that your body changes as well. And this is something that everybody who's listening today, just think about a time when you were really unhappy and then put a smile on your face and see if you can hold that unhappiness. You can't if you concentrate on the smile. The same thing happens. Whatever we feel will be shown in our body. So you can quickly change by just saying, right, I'm going to now sit up straight or whatever. You know, somebody's unhappy, they're going to bend over and walk around that way. So you can see it in their facial features, their body language, exactly what their emotions are telling you.
Yeah. I watched an interview with you the other day, and it was about bullying. And I was wondering, can you actually tell if somebody has a violent disposition on their face?
Well, one thing you'll actually find is that we talked about dangerous demeanor, which is where somebody is intent on doing some damage to somebody. The expressions will often give away what they're feeling, because and where we talk about dangerous demeanor, you know, things like disgust or contempt, people just want to pull away from the people around them. So, you know, that contempt, the mouth going up on one side, you know, it's like, I'm better than you, so therefore I just move away from you. But when it comes to anger, it's a violation of my space. So it's a case of I'll step in and go, move away from me. So we lean forward. So anger is the one that will give away if that person's plotting to do some damage. The intensity in their eyes, you watch who they're looking at. You'll see that if they talk, they see somebody who is actually going through some pain, you'll see a smile on their face as well. They'll be enjoying it.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to pick up those that don't have empathy for the person who's being bullied or the people around them.
Yeah. So we're facing an interesting dilemma now because people don't really look at each other. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have been to restaurants and I've seen people sit around the table and nobody is actually communicating with each other anymore. They're all staring at their phone. So are we unlearning how to communicate and connect with each other because of smartphones?
Yeah, we do. Look at all these kids, for instance. I'll be sitting there and they'll be actually on their phones, and we complain about them, but I've seen so many adults doing this as well. Sitting in a restaurant and sitting there with somebody else and they're on their phones. I have a habit of making sure that mine is, quite often I'm getting reminded because I lose time when I'm talking to people. I enjoy people's company so much. All of a sudden, I'm now late for my next appointment. So I have it there so I can hear the reminder going, hey, Alan, it's time to move on. So I don't turn my phone off fully. But I make sure that if a phone call comes in, I just flip it upside down, which on my phone automatically kills the ringer. So if I'm with somebody, my presence is with them. They are the most important person in my world right now.
Yeah.
If I pick the phone up, I'm telling them that they're no longer that important. And that is totally disrespectful. But we see this all the time because people now rely on their phones. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where we have at the bottom that base need moving up to self-actualization. Somebody actually took a drawing of that, and down below, underneath all of that, they put in Wi-Fi. And that's virtually the way we've gone. People will get up in the morning, they'll pick their phone up, they'll check it. They're always finding out what other people are thinking about. There's a lot of self-esteem issues going on as well. What are people thinking about me? What are they saying about me? Well, if you've been sitting with somebody and ignoring them in the cafe, I guarantee they're the next person who's on their Wi-Fi who is actually going to be talking about the fact that you didn't spend time with them in the proper way. So my advice to everybody is be present with the people around you.
That is, I second that one. I mean, if there's nothing else, that is the most crucial thing that we all deserve, I think, because we are wired for connection, right?
That's it.
And if we don't get that, and this is my topic, then that's what creates then all this anger and then that disconnection, that lack of empathy, and that's when people then literally make themselves sick.
And that's it.
They lash out in ways that destroys relationships. So
that's it. So, and that's what everything's about. It's building relationships. So the people don't buy from us. They don't buy our products and everybody is a salesperson. Think about the young child who's trying to get their parent to buy that lolly for them, for instance, or you're trying to get your kids to eat their broccoli. There's a sale in itself. Or you're trying to find that love of your life. You're going to try and sell yourself. They're going to buy whether they want you in their life.
Yes.
So relationships are the most important thing that we have. So it's really important to be present.
So being present and really reading somebody and connecting with their face and being able to mirror that are absolutely vital for building relationship. And that's all the things that you show people and teach them, right?
That's it. So the facial features will tell you the personality, knowing then how to structure the words to talk to their personality, and then body language and the expressions on their face give me the feedback as to whether I've got it right.
Yes.
Now, I've profiled thousands of people, but I've never had the arrogance to say I've got it right every time. I will test every profile I do. I will start talking to the person the way their facial features have told me they want to be spoken to and treated. And I watch the body language and micro expressions that come back to tell me whether I've got it right. And I can change in that instant if I haven't got it right, or I want to fine tune it to make it even better again.
And that's the mastery that comes with practice, right?
That's it.
So where can people learn more about what you do?
Well, first place is on my website. When they go to my website, I always tell them, don't just go and look at the media stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting videos and things like that in different interviews, like working with Disney and Gillette. But go to the success story page. This is where people who have worked with me have got some great answers. They talk about what they've actually achieved. And as you said, I've worked with parents with their children. I'm running school programs at the moment. I'm working with businesses and individuals in their relationships. So in that, there's plenty of, interviews there where people have actually spoken about what they've achieved out of it. Because at the end of the day, nobody really is interested in what I do or I've done. It's what they're going to get from being following what I've done and what I can actually get delivered to them. And the other place is I do have an online program or online courses, and there's a second website that they can go and actually test it out for themselves.
Great. So there are all sorts of ways to get in touch with you. And is there anything that's coming up that we can get excited about?
Well, one of the biggest things that we've had for, I know in 2012 here in Australia, we had about 100 children took their lives in 2012 and been increasing a rapid rate all the way up to there. We then had about 10 to 20 times that trying to commit suicide. They attempted it. And we had 7,000 kids going to hospital from self-harming. Well, we've continued to do what we've always done and got the same results. In fact, it's gotten worse because 2016 we had 450 children who were successful at taking their lives. Not because they were more successful, but because there are a lot more kids doing it. We've got 7-year-olds self-harming. We have, I think it's over 5% of all girls between the age of 11 and 14 have tried to commit suicide. So one of the things I'm doing at the moment, I've got a pilot program starting in one of the schools where the teachers are learning how to read the children's personalities, how they like to be taught and how they like to be spoken to, so that the teacher can build rapport with all the students. Because if a student builds a rapport with the teacher, but not the other students, now they've got peer pressure problems. So the teacher's got to build a rapport with every student. And we know that if all the students have high self-esteem, bullies don't affect them. And in fact, the bullies only bully because they've been bullied themselves. And the only way they can feel better about themselves is by dragging the others down. So if you build up their self-esteem as well by making their school life much better as well, there's a lot less bullying. So that's one of the major things that I'm working on at the moment, and looking at putting a lot more courses online so that people can self-learn this. And that means I can get to not just the people I can personally train, but get it out to the masses across the world.
Oh, there's so much more. I would love to talk to you about that. There's just, it's just so important what you do. And especially in today's world where this connection is just growing, and the focus on self, or, the task efficiency rather than the human being, we've all become human doings. So
that's it.
Oh, that's very valuable, and I'm really glad you're doing this.
Excellent. Well, one of the main things I'm looking at doing as well is that, because, as you mentioned, by putting all these things together, I was the only person globally doing what I was doing. Mm-hmm. I believe that I have a moral obligation to create and train competition. The more people doing this, the more benefit we can get it out there, and it means it makes my business stronger as well. So what I'm looking for at the moment are people who want to learn this, to take it into their fields, because I can go wide across all those different areas, but I can't go deep in all those. So I really need to work with others. So I'm looking to mentor other trainers. At the same time, I'm looking forward to working with people like yourself and working alongside, presenting both of ours to show people how we can bring so much more to the table when we work together in collaboration, as opposed to just being fearful of competition.
No, it's synergy. I
mean, exactly.
Other. As you said, we're all unique in our experiences. To bring them together, we have that effect that creates even more impact, and that's what it's all about. It's about changing people's lives for the better.
That's it.
And it's important to say, well, I'm not the only one who holds all that knowledge. I will be part of it, and we can all add something to it. So yes, this is why I'm talking
with
you.
Well, I do have one warning for anybody who trains with me, because a lot of people have actually said to me, can I be as good as you? And I go, well, set your targets high, because I expect you to be better. You're not only going to get me and all my experience, you're also going to add your experience on top of it, which will mean that you'll take it off and take it into a greater level than me. And that's what I'm looking to do.
And that's the evolution we want, right?
That's it.
Yeah. Wonderful. Okay. So people want to get in touch with you. What's the name of the website that they could go to? It's
Alan Stevens, Alan with one L and Stevens with a V, .com.au. And the training platform is alanstevens.thinkific.com, or just go to my main website, go down to the bottom, and you'll see the 3 courses at the bottom, which will take you to that platform.
Wonderful.
But if they want to have a chat with me, my website, alanstevens.com.au/ and the word call, CALL, and they can book a time to actually have a chat and see how I can help them.
Wonderful. Well, hopefully lots of people will take you up on that, because talking with you is so insightful. I mean, I have had short conversations with you where I've come out enlightened because you've just
Thank
had
you.
one snippet of wisdom, and it would have just put me on into a totally different trajectory. So thank you for
very
talking
much.
to me today. It's been an absolute pleasure to just find more about what's in your amazing brain, and I look forward to the next installment sometime.
We'll be talking again soon, I'm sure. Thanks very much for that.
Thank you, Alan.
Bye-bye.